So, John Garver, WaveMaker Awardee, you've worked tirelessly to raise the profile of the Mohawk River Watershed and its critical connection to the Hudson River. What is one thing you'd like the Hudson River Watershed community to know about the Mohawk River?
Well, that we're there. It's been a long time getting the recognition for the Mohawk that the Mohawk deserves. One of my early mentors was Bob Boyle, and he was one of the original founders of Riverkeeper. And Bob used to say that the Mohawk River was the weak sister of the watersheds in the state of New York. And there's a reason for that, because it's not directly related to big metropolitan centers, but also it doesn't have adjacency to states or international boundaries. So the Mohawk, we've worked hard to get the Mohawk on the map and give the Mohawk the recognition it deserves.
Don't forget about the Mohawk. Beth and Mark, thanks for representing and accepting the award on Dany's behalf while he's crossing rivers from east to west. We've already heard from Dany directly, but can you tell us a little bit more about how Dany has inspired others?
Well, I think actually that, is it Cody? Cody did, I thought, an amazing job summarizing it. Dany inspired the people around him, or I shouldn't say, he inspires the people around him with his commitment and his passion, his willingness to really take the time to explain something. And I think one of the things that Cody said that really struck me as true, I had not thought of it exactly that way myself, was how he really wanted to make sure that people that he was instructing really learned the information. And I got to experience this. I was the program administrator, so I love working with Dany for lots of reasons that were not field related, but collaborating with Mark and Dany on a Sawkill West Stream Stewards program for this summer. We hiked up to the headwaters of the Sawkill West, which is Echo Lake in Woodstock, and I got to really experience exactly what Cody was talking about. There was no softball questions. He probed you to be able to explain what you were seeing and connect the dots of your observations. So yeah, and for me, I mean, as his manager at DEP, it's just his commitment, his devotion to his work. It was really, really inspiring. He was just entirely reliable, someone I could always trust and count on to do what he said he was going to do, and do it with incredible quality. And he's just a supremely inspiring person to me. So I'm going to pass it to you, Mark.
Yeah, how can you add to the accolades? Dany and I fought for 18 years. We had slightly different approaches to stream management and science, and I think we both benefited from it. And he assured me that at his retirement party that he felt the same way I did, that the fire between us really benefited the program and the work of all doing environmental management in Kansas.
Thank you. Next up is the Sawkill Watershed Community. So Karen and Sheila, a central part of your mission is to support science-based advocacy. And what does that mean to you and your work on the ground?
This idea goes back to the very beginning.
Over close.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This idea goes back to the very beginnings of the Watershed Group when we put the word advocacy into our mission statement. And it's been a little bit tricky because to stand up for the river and for the watershed, we need to be able to take a stand and say, you know, this is what we want to protect. But to have informed advocacy means that when we write a letter about a project or an action that we want to comment on, we make sure that we back it up with facts. In other words, we're not just against this particular development, for example, but we're concerned about the effects, the particular effects that it may have on water resources, and we'd like to see those taken care of or addressed. So it's being very specific about the advocacy positions that we take, and very careful that even when we interview candidates or take a stand, we can take a stand for the river. We speak for the river. That's one of the things we keep telling ourselves. But it's important that we stand up in the community for that too, and that people can rely on this group for credibility and for science-based and factual reasons behind our advocacy.
I think one of the big problems that we all face is that sometimes we're talking science to people who don't understand science or who aren't interested in science. And the conversations just go past each other and there's no meeting of the minds. So one of the things that we do is we take the science and we make it accessible and we invite people to participate in it. And that gives them a stake in it and makes them want to understand it. And once they understand it, they know what they can do with it and why it's important. And we've been very fortunate to have been able to continue a long series of observations along the stream so that we now have a very powerful database that we can use to look at historical trends. For example, we had a problem with the wastewater treatment plant in the village of Red Hook, and we were able to show that there was evidence that the stream that was now having high E. coli levels didn't used to have that. And so rather than just working on someone's vague impression that the stream didn't used to smell, we can say the stream did not have this 2 years ago and it has it now. And that makes a big difference in terms of getting a response from your community and from the elected officials. So I feel it's important to understand this stuff and to advocate for it and to maintain it. You know, just one study alone is great, but if you don't build on it and work with it and make sure that it gets out to the community, it just sits on the shelf. And we work hard to make sure that the work we do reaches the community, and I think that's a real important aspect of what we do.
Jess, you work across the region to improve flood resilience, and you're a regional scale partner with one staff person in this region, but part of a larger Sea Grant network in New York State. So how do you consider how you support really localized flood resilience work in municipalities and communities? How do you think about scale? Sorry. That's a little different from I'm very tired. My brain ahead of time.
Okay, no, that's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the work with Sea Grant and kind of the heart of extension is really building relationships at the community level and over time just understanding needs. I know that the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network has been a great way to do that. That's how a lot of the risk communication and coastal forecast trainings came to be. And yeah, it takes time. It doesn't always happen right away, and I think it takes trust and and then the kind of and then you can try to solve the needs based on that. Let's just end it there.
I'm just going to play to get you out on time. I'd like to go down the line and just ask you all a simple question, which is, going forward, what makes you feel hopeful? What gives you hope? And we're going to start with John, and you got to talk right into the mic. Yeah.
I also have to go first.
Sorry.
This is an incredibly complicated time right now, and I think there's a lot of people who don't have hope and who are, we're all facing uncertainty, and I think that when you have action and you achieve results, and you see the benefit of those results, it's rewarding. And I think that in this time, we got to keep going. We got to keep doing what we're doing, regardless of what happens in the outside world or inside the United States at this point. Because if we don't, everything's going to fall apart. So we need to continue to do what we do.
Do I have hope? I don't know. The thing that gives me hope is the knowledge that over the past 50 years, we're making a transition. We've been making a transition from an engineering age to an ecological age, and that the youth, the people that are coming up through the school systems, despite the changes that are happening at the national level, they are immersed in the ecological paradigm, I believe, and that's going to make a big difference in the level of engagement, I think, in the long run, and in the alignments that they make with new information, new policy, new world situations.
So I don't really have a lot to elaborate. John's story inspired me deeply tonight because I've lived here for 33 years, and I have to be honest, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to the Mohawk. So we're going to be doing that moving forward. And so one person's story has really sparked me to expand my consciousness beyond the New York City watershed and the Catskill and Delaware basins, and also what Mark said. And I know I have hope because I'm very drawn to working in my own community, headwaters to mouth, to protect our Saukville West and Woodstock. And there's been a tremendous response to it. As I was telling someone tonight, when we had a meeting called How is the Sawkill? It was sponsored by the Woodstock Land Conservancy, even though there was a power outage in Woodstock due to heavy winds, and it was Sunday at 5 p.m., 100 people came to that meeting, and 30 signed up to become Sawkill stewards.
Well, two things come to my mind. The first is the power of the natural world to reach people who experience it and learn about it, as we've experienced through introducing people through our amphibian migration project, as one example. And the other thing has been the willingness of individuals in the community to work together as a community for things that they share in common. And water is one of the most basic, fundamental things that everybody shares and everybody has a concern about. So it's those two things working together.
I think one of the things I enjoy most about working with the Sawkill group, and by the way, that's the Sawkill in Dutchess County, not the other Sawkill, is the people who come out to volunteer are so interested, and they're so eager to learn, and they're so quick to learn. You don't have to tell them more than twice usually, and they're just having fun. When we do a big water sampling, we've got a lot of people out there that are hanging off bridges with dippers and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, we've got a whole bunch of really good water samples. Nobody fell in, and everybody had a good time. So we've gathered a lot of valuable data, but we've also had fun and we've enjoyed being on the water, and I think that gives me a lot of hope.
I just want to add one more quick thing. We've done a lot of work with students in middle school, elementary school, high school, and at Bard College. And it's the students themselves, I think, that give us hope too, in their enthusiasm, their willingness to learn, and their interest in what we're doing.
Yeah, I would echo all that, just all the students and volunteers that I interact with all the time. And just that there's good people everywhere. And yeah, It's fun. And the kids are all right.
Let's hear it for our 2026 Watershed WaveMaker Awards.